Welcome, everybody, to the latest episode of Your Winning Edge. I'm Skip Balch, your host and the sales handicapper. The Winning Edge podcast is really all about addressing the challenges and the opportunities for SMB sales leaders. These are leaders who carry the number, they make the call, and they own the outcome. So I'm excited today to have as my guest Rich Malloy. Rich is running revenue for a company out of Raleigh, North Carolina called Nutrient. And with that, Rich, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself and tell us what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Skip. Again, my name is Rich Malloy. I am the Chief Revenue Officer at Nutrient, formerly PSPDF Kit. I've been on what I would call an incredible journey over the past 12 years with this company, starting from kind of a sub $1 million bootstrapped company, like working with the founders and watching that kind of grow organically over for 8 or 9 years until we got acquired by a private equity firm and went through that journey in terms of the M&A process of, joining forces with a couple other technology providers, and then how to adapt from a go-to-market perspective through all of that, where, the pressures are different from, checking the bank account when you're bootstrapping to ultimately like looking at a different set of metrics on profitability and growth. So it's been a fun run. I think I always joke that the company probably looks drastically different every 2 to 3 years. So I haven't had to go anywhere. So it's been great.
So then let's do the math. You've been with them how long now? 12 years?
12 years. Yeah.
Okay. And you've done a number of different things with them, as I recall, right? Until now you're actually running the sales engine, correct?
Yeah. Was brought in as like, I guess you would count it the founding AE. I don't think we even called it account executives because we were so small. So was hired
Everybody,
by.
it's still called the founding AE. I'm not
Yeah.
entirely sure. Then that
Yeah.
means I'm an OG in the founding AE area because I've been doing that since '82. So I
Yeah.
get it.
It's hard to call yourself the founding AE when you join the founders because they were doing the sales before you got there. Because I think they would technically be the founding AEs,
Right.
but
Right.
worked closely with our CEO in a different life. And so he brought me over to have my kind of have a knack at sales. And so worked there and then grew kind of a small team over 8 years to kind of build out a CS motion, kind of build out an AE motion. And then I think hyper growth on the team scale really happened when we got acquired by a private equity firm, where we actually brought in a CRO that I worked under for 2 years and learned just a great deal about, the ins and out of, scaling a company, plans, SaaS blueprints, edit, Salesforce, all the stuff that comes with, I think, when you grow. And then think about, it's 2.5 years ago, I stepped back into the lead sales role to kind of own all of new revenues. Got to take a
So
back seat for 2 years and learn, which was great.
well, good. I mean, so give us your elevator pitch. What does Nutrient do?
Yeah. So Nutrient is basically a technology provider that is helping kind of people deal with documents and the information in documents. So we have a 3-prong attack to that. So we sell to software developers that are building custom apps. So anytime you're running into a document in like your DocuSign, Dropbox, something like that, we're actually the underlying code that they bought to
Okay.
power that
All right.
functionality.
All right.
We have an integrations business that brings that same type of functionality into places like Salesforce. And then we have a standalone application that can really help harness like the technology and the information behind documents that competes in the likes of like Jira and Appian. So like kind of doing a little bit of everything. And so it keeps it really exciting, but it's ultimately the knowledge and power of what documents can do in the world. Yeah.
So how was 2025?
It was good. Definitely not without its challenges, both from, I think, some market headwinds. Obviously, the introduction of AI in our world from a development standpoint
Mm.
has changed, I think, the buying process of like how comfortable businesses are buying technology like ours, because the landscape's changing so much in terms of what tools like Claude Code can do and stuff like that. Still growing, still super profitable. Saw some headwinds on the GRR side that kind of, we had to look into and be like, is this a macro, is it micro thing going? But ultimately left 25 feeling good about 26.
So you just came off of your sales kickoff. And so when you've had a challenging year, I love the euphemisms. When you've had a challenging year and then everybody talks about AI in many, many different ways. So you come off of a challenging year. AI is still here. The headwinds are still here. Tell me about the sales kickoff and how it went?
Kickoff was great. We did it offsite for the first time, which was really, really great. It's my 4th year doing a sales kickoff here at Nutrient. Learned some new stuff every single year. And so, I think the way AI is approaching both, I guess, the market and you're selling, both in terms of how you're using internally, I would say we're definitely like an AI forward company, both of like adopting it within our product line, but also pushing our team to really adopt it.
What does that mean?
Kind of a expectation that our regardless of your position, there's a value that AI can do. I mean, I think it makes smart people smarter. It makes efficient people more efficient. And so like I think we've really brought in a culture of like there's this expectation that like I think, we've talked before, Skip. I don't think AI can replace, the sales motion. I think it's like it is a person to person thing, maybe for some transactional stuff. But if you're trying to get someone to sign a 6, 7, 8 figure contract, like talking to an AI bot on a website, it's going to be really hard to get that done. So like it's trying to figure out that conundrum of like how, at least on my side of the fence, of like internally, or spend so much time not selling. And like I think AI has proved one of the best tools that's come on that like we can spend more time selling because AI can make things more
Okay.
efficient leading
Right.
up to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, look, I would agree. I think that to your point, AI makes really good people better. It makes really efficient people better. It also exposes really lazy people because I mean, it does, right?
Yeah.
Because it's right there. I mean, it's just if you don't use it and you don't optimize it, it's either you're afraid or you're lazy, and either one or both is bad, right? And so you've got to now you've got to keep up, right? And what's interesting is that in a sales environment now, everybody is in NASCAR. The technology is there. It's the same technology for
Yeah.
everybody. So what does it come down to? It comes down to the driver. It comes down to the driver and the team that's going to support the AI technology or any other technology, right? So it's sales meetings now become what are you doing with AI? Tell me about your latest efficiency gain with regard to AI. Tell me how you got better insights for your marketplace and the prospect. Tell me how it helped you prepare for a call better. And if you don't have that story, then there's really only one reason. It's because you're not using it.
Right. And so I think we've done a great job of like, yeah, I think the majority of people are still using, a chat GPT or, one
Odd
of
or
the
whatever. Yeah.
bot or whatever for
Open it. Yeah.
emails. It's for emails. Write this
Yeah.
email, proofread this email.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time at the sales kickoff teaching the reps of like, okay, so the chat based AI stuff is great, but like, I think we ran an exercise like, we want everyone to just to type in, who am I? And we started there. Does the thing you're using every single day even know who you are, what your
Mm-hmm.
job is, and what you want it to
Mm-hmm.
do? And that like first exposed this huge thing of like, okay, we're not even giving AI context of like how to help us do our job. And then we did workshops. We helped them build GPTs and gems for pre-call research. And so like, even when we're releasing stuff on the AI perspective from our product line, if they're not even using it internally, they're not gonna be able to sell it. And so like, I
Right.
think it was like, we spent almost an entire day at our sales kickoff, like teaching them the skills of how to do it, because I think we also just assume everyone walks in and knows how to do this. And
Hmm.
so like, I think the time we spent doing workshop with them, and now we're seeing it pop up a lot of like, we have a very open, transparent communication style here at Nutrient and Slack. And so we have a sales channel that is ridiculously busy, but like I see reps coming in like, hey, I built this GPT on messaging for this new product. If anyone wants to use it, here you go. But again, like you say, Skip, it's only as good as the driver. So like there is this part that I always struggle with, like, should this be coming from the ground up or should it be coming from the top down? Because then I go like, okay, well, is that GPT from the person I want building a GPT for the entire sales team? And so like it is always this balance of like how much we push down versus we pull up. But it's great to see the team kind of do it.
Well, it's not unlike a really, really good 3 Michelin star kitchen,
Yeah.
right? Where there's a tremendous amount of ingredients that go into whether, an effective message that you might send. At the end of the day, though, you're the chef.
Mhm.
You're not the sous chef. ChatGPT is the sous chef now, right? Or it's doing the prep or it's doing this. But when you send it, it's not your AI's name that's on the email. It's your name.
Right.
And so I think I view AI as authorship at scale. You give it just enough direction, and you don't have to give it a ton of direction, frankly, is what I've learned. But you give it enough direction, it'll spit out an email for you, but then you got to edit that thing.
Yeah.
You got to make sure that it's yours. And if you don't, the ones that get in trouble are the same ones that got in trouble in high school when they let ChatGPT or AI write their paper for them. only to have
I copied the Wikipedia article into my term paper. Yeah, like
yeah, and then hey, I put it into my language. Well, I don't know what your language is, so I'm going to take a shot. And then what the key thing here is, though, you submit it and you're shocked when you're found out. And when you're selling is everybody sells. I don't. My 2-year-old grandson sells, right? The only difference between me and him is I get paid to do it. Now he gets paid. He may get paid in a piece of candy or whatever and stuff, but we all get paid in one way or another. And so you've got to take accountability for that, right? And if you're not willing to take accountability for it, then you really need to take a look in the mirror, figure out what you're doing.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. I mean, because like I think I've talked to several sales leader, and like one of the first things AI did was like it's transcription from call recordings and stuff like that they can map to your CRM. And so everyone's got their methodology, whether it's Bant, Medic, we use Medic. And so one of the things we quickly realized is like we're like, oh cool, we'll buy this tool. It summarizes and then maps Medic to Salesforce, which is great. Now the reps don't have to fill out Medic in Salesforce. But what we quickly found out after looking at it about 6 to 7 years is the reps didn't know what the decision process was or the criteria or the pain because they weren't asking it. AI was assuming it. And so like when we're doing we're like, okay, we have the 7-figure deal. What's the decision process? Like they're going into Salesforce to look what was written rather because it's become a crutch. So like we actually even had to roll stuff back this year to say, that autofilling tool we had for Medic, y'all, we're not going to use that anymore. We need you to write that down because that tells us you understand the decision-making process, the pain, all that stuff. And
Well,
like I said, it's
yeah,
only good as the driver.
I'm gonna push back though a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I use one, right? I use Sybil.ai.
Nice.
It's the best one that I've found out there. It does a great job of producing emails immediately that are good. I do a slightly bit of editing. In fact, I even have at the end of my signature, below my signature, this email was co-authored by Sybil, just so that people and look, anybody that gets upset by that, it's just like 1990 call and they want their organization back, right? So, but okay, I don't mind that, and they can go ahead and put it in there, but you still got to trust but verify. You still got to validate, right? And see, to me, that's where management comes in. That's where you come in, because it's either this is what I mean by being lazy and being exposed. You're either going to know what that said, and therefore, what is the next thing that needs to be done, right? What is that next action step? Or I'm going to know that you don't know it. AI knows it, Gong knows it, Salesforce knows it, HubSpot knows it, but you don't know it. And so it doesn't absolve you of that responsibility. And it is a great expose of people that are just letting AI do their job, because one of us, I don't need you to close it. You can go in and close the deal if I know what all the parameters are, right? So this gets back to the proposition that I make, and that is that with AI, all the technology is now democratized. It's leveled the playing field.
Right.
You become the UVP, the unique value proposition. And if you're not willing to own that and embrace that, then you need to go do something else and not be in sales in today's world.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to make, I think we go back to kind of what me and you do. It's going to make good people better. Yeah, I mean, and so I have a funny saying, and I'm stealing it from the CRO that I used to work for a couple of years ago. Reps never do what you expect them to do. They only do what you're inspecting. So the second they don't think you're inspecting those Y buys on that Salesforce, they're like autofill, autofill, autofill. But if they know that's where you're going to engage them and meet them at, like, even if they use those tools, they're going to go, okay, let me make sure this is actually, I can speak about it. Yeah.
That's true. Although I read a book a long time ago. This is, hell, you probably weren't even born yet. And it's called The Greatest Management Principle. And you know what it is? It isn't that which even gets measured gets done or inspected gets done. It's that which gets rewarded gets done. And so because you can put in whatever metrics you want. Now it's harder now because AI is taking that AI sales assistant is taking it directly off of the recording. And as long as you're having the recording, but you can still manipulate the perspective. So what is it that's being rewarded? So early on, it's different. So for a brand new rep, if you're having them hunt, then what's being rewarded is activity, but it's got to be quality activity. Okay, so that's what's being rewarded, or being rewarded based upon profitability of a deal. It's whatever gets rewarded will get done. And that's why I used to say, and I was managing a sales team, we used ACT. Probably never even heard of that, but it was a local CRM, the precursor really to Salesforce. And I would just tell them, look, if it's not an act, it isn't real. And so what got rewarded was, you have some times when, so I say, I got a great lead, and they're telling you about it, and you go look at Act, and hey, Jeff's already got that lead in Act. Well, but I had a different conversation. No, I'm sorry. We already told you that was a single source of truth. So it's so funny to hear all these terms now when I was using them 30 years ago and managing sales team. It's like, okay, good. So I'm glad that I'm the OG in that regard. Okay.
Yeah.
So we talked about 2025. We talked about the challenges. We talked about that it was a challenging. Your sales kickoff was really good. We're now into the end of the first quarter. How's 2026 looking?
Shaping good. I've been very fortunate as a sales leader that the predominant of my pipeline creation has been inbound. People are seeking out the large majority of the tools that we have. And so like, I don't know, that's the other joke. Why have you stayed there so long? I don't know. It's an inbound sales job predominantly. And so like, which is great when you're bootstrapping and stuff, but then you start going, let's be ambitious, let's grow. Are we going to be a high profit company, a high growth company? Do we want to do both? Like now, like equity comes in, private equity comes in. And so like that balance there, and then the ambition of us, you sprinkle that on top. And so like, you just look at the unit economics of like, how are people finding tools now? That changed drastically over the past 2 years of like, the
Mm-hmm.
way people are Googling, the way people are finding tools, the way like now agents are finding tools in our
Yep.
space.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so like the game's changed. And so you go to probably what everyone else does. Okay, we got to do outbound. We got to do partners. We got to do events. We got to go up market and close bigger deals while keeping win rate. And so like I think a lot of last year was what about this? What about that? What about this? And so all sprinkled with like, well, we've always bootstrapped. So we kind of have this like profitability thing even ingrained in our DNA because most of the executive team's still there from like the early days. So like we don't like just spending money to money, which I think has been a great thing. So like we're looking at these type of things of like, how can we grow, but not just throw money at the wall? And so
Well, I mean, by definition, a PE is not going to want you unless you have already established some level of run rate. And now it's all about making you more efficient, making you more profitable, right? The old boss of mine said a VC firm is run by PowerPoints and a PE-backed company is run by Excel.
I like that. Yeah.
And it's really true. So, the unfortunate thing is that, the question then becomes, did you get bought too early as a PE firm by a PE firm because you've still got a lot of upside growth? Mostly inbound, one of the things I'm hearing is if there's a lot of inbound, that's going to AI agents
Mhm.
now to respond to and get them to the point where they need to talk to a human to get them closed. Do you have outbound SDRs now or no, or
I
inbound
have I
SDRs?
have a few. I've really experimented with this a lot. So for inbound, we were able to use some more agentic workflows and kind of automate probably 80 to 90% of inbound because we just like score them, route them, send them to the rep. Like let's keep as a frictionless journey to the AEs as possible.
Okay, let me stop you right there.
Yeah, go
When
ahead.
you were sending them to the AEs, were you considering them to be SQLs or MQLs?
Since it was inbound, we would consider it an SQL. As soon as they were able to do a since it was inbound, someone's asking for pricing, we would consider an SQL as soon as the discovery meeting happened with an AE. We
Whoa,
had a
whoa, whoa,
low
whoa.
bar for qualification.
But
Go
this
ahead.
is a really important distinction. Marketing sent you a lead by virtue of their efforts. So that's an MQL.
Mhm.
Now, regardless of what they asked for, they may have just been asking for pricing to ask for pricing or whatever. For me, it doesn't become an SQL or not until after the discovery call, right?
Correct.
So once the discovery call is done by a salesperson and they say this has got a real sales opportunity, then it gets flipped, right, to an SQL. Is that
Yes. Yes. And
okay?
we've qualified it like it hits pipeline once a quote is either ballparked or we've at least have enough information to quote it. So yes. So inbound
Okay.
comes in, discovery call happens, rep either ballparks, quotes it, discovery, blah, blah, blah. Then it becomes an SQL.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So basically, the discovery call is really just qualifying whether or not, if you want to take medic, that's fine. I think the easiest one I've found to use is to just determine overall, do we invest more time as BANT, right? And even in BANT, I don't really care about budget and authority. I'm not worried about that right now. I want to make sure that I have a clear understanding of the need and the urgency of that need. Okay. And then once that happens, then I go to what I would say would be a scoping call. Let's talk about what you believe you need or your problem is, and we can come up with some sort of a variation of the solution. And then so you've got inbound that's coming in. It's routing it. The salespeople are having discovery calls, and then from there, they're either up or they're out.
Yeah. And that's a lot of the in, it's the need. As like people are coming in and said, I need to solve this problem. And we're going, yeah, we can do that. When do you need to do that? And I'm with you with like the authority piece. That's a selling piece. I got to go find someone who we like. That's our job to find the authority to go say, you will buy this once I give you the budget. But most of that initial discovery call is, what do you need? Can we suffice that need? And when do you need it? And so
Well,
that's, yeah.
and yeah, and most of the time it's being initiated by the one that has the responsibility to solve it, not the authority
Yeah.
to solve it. Right, right, right. And so, okay, so now both you and that person are on the same side of the table,
Mhm.
right? And you're saying, okay, now we got to go, and now I'm helping you sell internally, whatever it is that it may be.
All
Okay.
the fun stuff. Yeah.
So what's going to keep you from hitting your 2026 goals?
I'm very ambitious this year in terms of our partner and event motion. I think we did a lot of grassroots work last year, almost to the point where like we were looking at the market to see like where we could go outside of this inbound motion of like people are looking for us for this, but who could we go tell about this?
Hmm.
And we've landed in a couple places where we feel really really positive that we can go tell people about this, and they go, oh, interesting. We need that.
I don't understand what that means.
So essentially, like, I think, ultimately, large part of our business is like developer tools. And so, like,
Right.
someone's coming to a developer and said, "Hey, we need to do this." They don't know how to do it. It's like we need to sign documents, we need to view documents, we need to
Okay.
generate documents, and
Okay.
the developer goes, "Let me go solve that problem for you. I can either
Right.
write it myself, I can use Claude Code, or I can go buy something off the shelf." It's very hard to go out in the world and tell a developer that they should say, "Hey, buy this thing and do it." Well, no one's asked me to do it yet. Like I work like I don't
Right.
want. Why am I
Yeah,
going to do this
you're a need
or
state
this?
business.
Yeah, but
Just
we have
like when I was
found in
at
some
Growth
places where we
Acceleration
can
Partner.
go find product people, CIOs, and say, "Look what you could do with this stuff." And then they go, "Well, how do I get it?" Well, now you have to go get to this engineering team and put it in and do this stuff. And like, oh, okay. And so like we've tried to find some places where like it's not as hard to do that. The value props there. They have competitors that are using us, and I think we've seen some real traction there, and at least getting some
Okay.
feedback from the
I
product
see what
people
you're
that
saying.
going, yeah,
Yep.
let's do it. Obviously, the time to close gets much larger and things like that, but that's always been some of our biggest problem because like our developer tool business is a large percentage of what we do. It's just a hard ICP to do outbound to. They
Wow.
don't they don't talk to you. Um,
Wow. Yeah, especially when they think they can just do it themselves now that they've got
yeah,
the tools.
absolutely. And so
And I
that's
don't
some of the
even need to
market
be a
thing. Like,
developer. Yeah.
yeah. And so I think AI will definitely be part of writing code. I mean, I don't think there's a question of like, will AI continue to write code? Yes, it will. Like, there's no argument that it will be involved. It's just, I think we sit at a place where we don't think, or companies won't trust to only rely on
Yes.
that to
Well,
do it. So,
the final mile is gonna be what, and by the way, that's what I'm hearing everybody say
yeah.
on all my interviews is again, AI has turned development into, NASCAR. We all have the same access to the same tools, and frankly, a rookie driver has just now as much chance to win as a 40-year-old veteran, right? And so what's the difference? The difference is in the driver, the experience of the driver. It's in that final mile, it's in that last 10%, which my old boss wrote a really good article. It's up on LinkedIn. Basically says your last 5% isn't going to cost you just 5%, which is so true, isn't it? It's like a construction. The last 10% of your remodel usually winds up taking 5 times as long and costs 5 times more than you thought it did or would, right? And that's what people I think are beginning to experience.
I mean, that's always been our biggest tagline. It's like, you don't realize how valuable we are as a vendor until you submit that first support ticket. Like, or when you run to that first problem and you go, no. And we go, okay, here, it's fixed. And they go, okay, yeah, you're worth it. The problem is they don't know how much you're worth prior to buying. So you have to you have to work that in. And that's a very hard thing to,
It's,
yeah.
when I, several years ago, I had heart surgery, and my cardiologist said, "Here's the good news, Skip. You're not going to know how bad you've been feeling until they fix this." And he was not kidding. It was amazing. I was walking up hills that I had not been able to walk up before, like 2 days later. And I think you're exactly right. The challenge is, it's just like here's the challenge, which is to me is exciting because it's how I cut my teeth in tech sales. There's always in every tech sales, in every sale, period, there's always a paradigm sale that has to get made and then a product sale. And sometimes you're selling into an established paradigm, and so you just got to confirm that it's there. But the challenge with selling into a new paradigm and a new product, or even a new product in an existing paradigm, if they've not ever bought it before, then they don't know what they don't want. And so you have only two things. I used to teach a class in this. It says, "Look, you only got two things you can go by. Number one, does it make sense? Is what they're telling you? Does it just use your own OI, your own intelligence, not artificial intelligence, your own OI? And then what do the references say? And then do the references bear out that they keep the promises that they make? And then that's all you got to go on. And then
Yeah.
you're rocking and rolling, right?
We were so fortunate. I mean, bootstrapping everything inbound, so many stars aligned, but we got very, very lucky in the early days that a couple companies like DocuSign, IBM, Dropbox aligned with us when we were 5, 6, 7 people. I don't know if they missed the marketing clause in the agreement that said we could use their logo, but as soon as we slapped those things on the front page, like I mean, we still say the same stuff. Like, oh, we want to sign documents. You know, DocuSign? Yeah, we're under the hood. And that's enough. It's enough.
It's amazing. It's
Even
amazing.
when you do outbound, you're like, you know what you start with. You're like, oh, you're construction SaaS? Do you want what your competitors have?
So let's go back to that then. So you signed, as I recall, now I remember in our previous, you got a lot of enterprises
Mhm.
that you have, but you were David and Goliath, right? Or maybe Goliath wasn't even around yet. Share how you, as a startup, as a young small company, and so how did you get an enterprise to take a chance on you?
So, I mean, when you looked at the makeup of our company when we were acquired, 50-ish people, 40 of them were full-time engineers. Like, I think from the go-to-market, that's where a lot of the growth was when we went to private equity. And that's where I think some of the maturation had to come in because, like, I don't know, we were tracking revenue on a Google Sheet when we got, like, we didn't have a CR. Like, it was just, we didn't have like, no, it's Google Sheet.
You had great technology.
Yeah, right? I mean, like, we had bigger things than it, but, like, I think we were such an engineering forward company, and then talent, like, the talent we had on the engineering, like, the joke was, like, we lost engineers only to Apple and Google. Like, that's where people went when they left
Mm,
us, and so,
okay.
like, it's a PLG motion again, like, why did you say the 12? Well, it was a PLG inbound motion, and the product you didn't lose because of the product. And so, like, I think that's why we also keep a huge retention here on the sales staff because I think they also know how good it is, especially, well, I'd say half. Those who have been out in the world that come join us definitely come in and go,
Yeah.
holy, what is
Yeah.
this thing?
Right.
You know, when we bring in the SDRs and promote them and they've never really, like, it's hard to always talk to someone like you don't, like, you almost want to be like, you know what? Go take your 2 years, go somewhere else, and then let's bring you back. Like, put you out to pasture, come back to the barn. Like, you'll see how good you have it when we're feeding you, giving you water. You don't have to work at all. And so, like, I think really the founders really prioritize the product and the engineering and the support, and people are happy to give you more money, especially because, like, our retention was great. We were able to go to people at renewals and have very honest conversations and being like, hey, y'all been with us 8 years. Pricing hasn't moved. We've grown. You've grown. We don't enjoy doing this, but, like, can we even this out a little bit? And there's always some tension in it and stuff. But, like, ultimately, people, I respect the heck out of our customers, but, like, they come to the table like, yeah, we'll give you more money. Like, we
Well,
understand. Yeah.
look,
And
they
I
now
was like, do you
know.
want us around? Like, you need to give us
Yeah,
money to be around
bingo.
too. Yeah.
They know. Well, they're not, to your point, they're not stupid. They look at the
Yeah.
alternative
Yeah.
and go, "If just take out just the element of change alone is worth the 10% or 15% bump, especially when it hasn't happened for 3 or 4 years." So I definitely get that. As we wrap up, all right, you've been here, been here 12 years. It's funny. It sounds like in some regards, you're still a PLG because it's still about the quality of the technology.
Mhm.
Okay. So what is the PE firm hoping to do with you guys, if you can tell me?
Yeah, no, I mean, we continue to grow. We continue to be profitable. I think, like, you know, when you look at us from the outside, like, this is a great, I mean, like, it's almost like a great stock to have. I still think I still consider us a startup. Like, when I look around and I don't know if it's just like, you know, where I look as a leader, but, like, I just see so many little places like, oh, we could execute better. We could execute better. Like, every time we sit down with the board or the CEO, like, I think he called me before I jumped on and we were talking and I think we were joking around. It's like, do you ever think we'll, like, we'll be bored or we'll run out of stuff to do. And he goes, I hope not. And it just seems like we continue to find ways to be better, whether it's pricing, whether it's execution. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about sales. It's like, it's a losing game, right? Like, I think when people get into sales, they don't realize, like, unless you get very, very lucky, you lose a lot more than you win, unless you just got these crazy win rates. And so, like, that in itself means like there's always area for improvement. So I think when they look at us, I mean, if you're bringing in new logos, your churn's not bad. Why would you not just want to wait and see what more you could do? I mean,
Yeah,
of course, with
exactly.
private equity, there's always a cliff. Like they have to do
Right.
something at some point,
Yeah.
but like everything's up and to the right. Let's see if we can make it more up and to the right. So I think that's the
So
fun part.
how big, I want to talk about your ego for a minute. Founding AE, um, doing a job, you're there, you're seeing obviously, I guess, some level of sales leaders come and go. You had a CRO for 2 years. You learned a lot from and so forth, but, and now you're running it. But while you're doing that, if you're ambitious, and I'm gonna take a shot at this and say you probably are. Tell me about the path your ego went on during this process.
I mean, like there's all the analogies like, big fish, small pond, small fish, big pond, stuff like that. I think one of the things that has been really beneficial to me is like probably a big sense of imposter syndrome the entire time of like, why are they
Mm,
trusting me to do this? Like, are you sure? All the affirmation, all the praise, the good years, the bad quarters, like I think it's really healthy to have some sort of imposter syndrome at some point and continue that because it continues to have you like self-reflect. So like I can stand on stage and talk about the PDF spec all day and medic and all this stuff, but at the end of the day, when I'm going, okay, the number's going up this percentage, I don't think I've ever gone into the year going, yeah, this is like we got this. Like there's always this imposter syndrome, but I think ultimately like it helps you drive yourself because like you look at our executive team, half of it's still that we don't have prior executive experience. We just know this space, we know this product, and like we work really well together, which is a big part of it. And the culture we've built, ego for sure. Like obviously, I played sports collegiately, professionally for a little bit. Like it's there, but I think always that hint of imposter syndrome is what's been the driving factor of like I want to prove to myself and also prove to others. I'm sure it's unhealthy at times, but like that I'm still the right person to do this. And my CEO that I've worked with for 12 years has been great and kind of balancing that as a mentor as well. Like he knows it's a marriage. He knows when to poke and he knows when to be like, okay, no, you're good. You're doing a good job. It's okay. We're fine. So yeah.
well, look, it's not very common that the CEO for somebody in your position hasn't asked you to leave
Mhm.
or hasn't given you every opportunity to leave, which means that you're a team player. He sees that you're a team player. You're loyal, which is obviously very important as well. That I mean, that's kudos to you. I don't know. In fact, no, never mind. I do know. In my 20s and 30s, my ego would not have taken that, and it didn't. I left job. I mean, you look at my LinkedIn profile and you go, "This guy couldn't hold a job," and it was due mostly to my immaturity and my ego.
Very fortunate. I mean, I think when he offered me the job as founding AE, I had worked with him in a previous life, and it very much was like, "Hey, I'm starting this thing up with these two guys in Austria." He explained what they sold. Couldn't tell him. He's like, "But I'll pay you 10 grand more than I know you're making right now. I'll get you a MacBook, and you get to go to Europe 4 times a year." And I took the job based on that, and I was like,
There you go.
um,
Hey,
"Oh, I'm a ton of gratitude." I mean, like, and through the first 8 or 9 years, there was I mean, like, we've had every conversation you have, but, like, I ultimately trust him, and that's the big
that's it.
part of that, and so, like, I trust him, he trusts me. I think he gives me a ton of freedom, which is good. Sometimes I'm like, Don't you wanna come look at this? Are you sure you don't wanna be more involved in this?" But,
Well, my definition of trust is when you never have to question the motive or the competence of the other person. And it's not one or the other, it's both, right? And so clearly there was some real trust for you. So I get asked this question a lot because I've been doing this a long time. What's the best sales book you've ever read?
sales book. It's not a traditional sales book. If I had a good negotiation, like I love the never split the difference. Like I love that stuff.
Hmm.
Pep Guardiola is a professional soccer coach from Manchester City. And so one of the reasons why I took this job initially is our CEO also said, also, you can still go play and coach while you do this. So I was still working
Wow.
2 jobs. So like that's when I thought I wanted to do professional coaching for soccer. And so then I realized I made a switch. But he has a coaching book that's really relative to soccer and running teams and running an organization. And though it's not like to like, the principles are still there in terms of like the entire staff, the players, the methodology, the consistency. And so, like, when I was in that coaching phase, I was reading all these books by like Sir Alex Ferguson, Pep Guardiola. And like what I didn't really realize is that they were going to be really pertinent to like running this career as well. And just the people management of it, the staff, the principles. And so, like, I'm sure you heard of Rex, the like results, effort, knowledge, skill. Like I love that. But like in its way, it's his own thing of like, okay, we're losing games. We have to start with effort. Are we training hard enough? Are we putting the effort? Are we out there hard enough? Like, am I giving these people the knowledge to do the job? Like, do they know how to dribble? Do they know how to pass? Do they know how to shoot? Do they know where to be? And then, like, ultimately, do I have the right players to execute this? And so, like, I think a lot of, like, I know a lot of athletes get into sales for whatever reasons, but like, I think those coaching books really translated to like building teams and coaching. And so that has
Well, if a
always been the
leadership,
stuff. Yeah.
if a leadership principle is not universal, then it's not really a leadership principle. I think to your point, that's awesome. If money were no object, you had all the money you needed, what would you spend 10 hours a day doing?
Day. I really love this. Money was no object. I think my wife knows that I'll never retire. So I think our plan is that we're probably going to like move to the Keys, buy a fishing boat and do like half day charters out, like take people snorkeling. And then like, I don't know, maybe be a bouncer outside of a bar and just sit there while she's inside having fun. I don't know. Like that's probably what we would do. So like still
Okay.
work in some capacity.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
still working, but it would be something that I think
Yeah.
that would be where I would take things next.
I used to ask that question on every salesperson that I interviewed. And what was interesting was that I didn't really care what the answer was, as long as it wasn't unethical, illegal, or immoral. I really didn't care. What I wanted to hear, and you can't say spend more time with your family because that's a cop out, right? So I would say, and I would hear, and it would be whatever it was. Here's the thing: if they couldn't come up with anything, then I wouldn't hire them, because I need you to be passionate about what we're doing. And so if you don't have something you're already passionate about, because then I can't use you, because best story wins. But if they did have something like being doing charters off of the Keys, I would say, really, tell me more about that. And then all I would do would be sit back and listen.
Yeah.
And I would gauge, can they tell a story? And if they can tell a story, they got hired.
Yeah.
Right. So it's that's good. I've not heard that one. So that's really good. That's really good.
We met somebody. I think we were at a wedding one sometime, and we jumped on like a snorkeling chart or something. And the guy gave me a story. Like, and he had been a high level executive at some point, and he did it for 40 years. And then all of a sudden, they went to retire, and they got bored within a couple of weeks. They bought a boat and got his captain's license. I was like, yeah, this seems nice. Yeah. So we talked to
Well,
people.
when I retired from Gap, my wife said, that's not real retirement, right? And I said, why? And she said, no, 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 no. You haven't made enough money for you to just go out and spend all of it. and you're still too young. So I do this so that I can continue to spend the money on my grandkids and so forth. This has been really delightful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much
Rich,
for having me. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. This is a passion of mine for sure.
I think that what you talked about, your challenges, AI is the same challenge, but everybody handles it differently. And I think that your transparency and the fact that you're still an SMB, right? So this still holds true for the winning edge. You're an SMB. You own the number. You're running sales. And what are you going to have to do in order to really make 2026 better than last year? And I appreciate the transparency and the candor.
Absolutely, Skip. Hopefully we're talking again in a year, and I can tell you that 26 was the best year yet. So that's the goal, right?
We'll put it on the calendar and do just
Sounds
that.
good.
Thanks.